Peptides are powerful and often misunderstood.
And we're here to change that one conversation at a time.
I'm Dr. Kylie Burton.
And I'm Jessica Bricky.
This is Pep Talk, Peptides Unpacked. Science made simple, results made real. Today we're joined by Chelsi Wood, a fitness and lifestyle coach with over 15 years of experience helping people build strength, resilience, and sustainable habits. Her approach goes far beyond workouts and nutrition. She focuses on the deeper drivers behind behavior, helping people understand their habits, their patterns, and how to create lasting change. Her work is rooted in both experience and education, and she brings a really grounded, real life perspective to what it actually takes to feel strong and be well long term. And we know now that behavior isn't just mindset, it's tied to biology, stress response, and how the brain and body are communicating.
What stood out to me about Chelsea is the idea that it's not about just doing more, it's about understanding what's actually driving your habits in the first place.
So, Chelsea, welcome aboard. We're glad to have you here.
Thanks, ladies. Excited to be here.
So, I saw one of your posts a couple days ago, maybe a week ago now, and I didn't realize this either. But you said 2 years ago you were 30 pounds overweight, inflamed. And now, if you were to look at Chelsea, I'll tell you guys, she's ripped to the core. Every part of her body, I think she's probably got less than 5% body fat, but doesn't matter
We were
because
just
she's living her best life. So, Chelsea, walk us through your story and your journey and where peptides came into play.
Hey, so I've been in the fitness industry for over 20 years. I'm a mom, I've got 4 kids, married, and absolutely love coaching and fitness. And I've been an Orange Theory coach. I love group fitness, just love the community aspect of it, and do personal training and virtual fitness and nutrition coaching for a company called Superhuman. And I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's a couple years ago. And it was right after I had done a 2 year bodybuilding journey and felt like I looked like I was at my peak performance. And after I came off the national stage, I knew that something was off in my body. And my joints ached, my hair was falling out, I was extremely fatigued, and I felt like I was doing all the right things, and my body was proving otherwise. And so through blood work, I was able to eventually find Hashimoto's. It's interesting how that's how I met Kylie. I remember coming home actually from that doctor's appointment where my doctor told me that I had Hashimoto's, and I'd had thyroid problems up and down for several years, just been given medication over time. And an ad from Kylie pops up and she said, "Do you feel like your doctor's been missing something?" And I was like, yes. And so I actually was trained by Kylie about blood work. And then I was introduced to my doctor, my functional medical doctor, Dr. Watts. And in conversation with him, I was
Now,
considering
this is
doing,
Todd Watts' brother, correct?
correct. Yeah.
Vaughn.
Yep. Vaughn.
Yes.
Yep.
Those of you who are listening who are like, oh, I know Todd Watts, that's Cellcore.
Yes.
Vaughn is, I don't know, actually, he has his own now. Aegis
Aegis.
formulas?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Aegis
Aegis. Yep.
formulas.
Great
Yep.
Okay.
stuff, by the way. Great stuff.
Yes, it is. It's excellent. And so I was on the phone with Vaughn and I was just like, okay, I'm considering doing this course. And he was the one that was like, Chelsea, if you can read blood, you'll know more than half the doctors in America. And I was like, okay. So I went all in. And being a new fitness and nutrition coach, I felt like I could always get my clients to a certain point and then they would plateau. And then I was racking my brain trying to figure out, okay, what's going on? All of the typical get your steps in and eat your protein and calories in versus calories out, it was no longer working. And so that course was life changing, honestly, for me, for my awareness, for my clients. And through the process of just trying to heal my body, Dr. Watts took me through a gut protocol. And in that process, as we were working together for that year, he actually suggested I do some research on peptides. And for the purpose of helping to release inflammation in my body and restore metabolic health. And that's where peptides started for me. And it was about 18 months ago. And I started on semaglutide at the time.
Yeah, I want to
And
know. Tell me your regimen.
Yeah, so semaglutide is where I started. I didn't love it. It made me nauseous or whatever. After being on it for a couple weeks, that kind of subsided. And I've always stayed on a very micro dose. So I was just on 5 units, a tiny dose. And then after that, I was introduced to tirzepatide and I swapped over to that. Really liked it. And then in the last 4 months, I have switched over to retatrutide. So currently taking retatrutide, and it's my favorite so far, for sure.
There's
One
mixed,
of the things that
yeah,
stands out to
mixed
me is this thing that we
reviews.
hear all the time, Kylie, right? Every single conversation we have is I was doing all the right things. We hear it over and over again. Like you just came out of this national competition where you were, like you said, thought you were at your peak performance. Your body was at peak, but probably underneath that was extreme dieting. I'm assuming there's probably a lot of cutting that was happening, a massive amount of stress, because even though exercise is good, it's still a stressor on the body. And all of those could be that thing that, even though they're healthy, good things, was the thing that was the straw that broke the camel's back for you. And so now you have to rewire that, do some healing, gut healing,
Yeah.
like you mentioned, and peptides to get that signaling back on board again.
Yeah, and I think a big thing for me too is coming off the stage, I went back to normal and I started reintroducing gluten, dairy, and sugar, where I'd been off of it basically for 2 years. And my body freaked out. It was like, no, we're not doing this. And so that was part of my healing process too, was pulling those back out of my diet. I now can eat them now that I've been through my gut protocol and I've healed my gut and spent a diligent time doing that. But yeah, I've tried quite a few peptides, a whole handful, and a bunch of different cocktails. But I've absolutely loved them. It has literally been life-changing. And when people ask me about it, I'm very positive and supportive.
Yeah, so you started off with the GLPs and then the GIPs and now the Retta. So you went from
Mhm.
Sema to Tetra to Retta.
Yeah,
I have that down now. It's taken me a couple months to memorize it, but those are a great place to start.
yeah.
Really, for anybody who's even looking into the peptide therapy, whether it be weight loss or another aspect that they want to help heal. But would you recommend that? It's a great place to start as well.
Yeah, especially if it depends obviously why you'd be starting, and most likely it's probably for weight loss, is what I'd say, why you're going to lean into
Right.
those. When my clients ask me about them, I'm very positive, but I will say to them, until we have your habits in order, I wouldn't introduce this. We need to make sure that you are strength training, that you are getting enough protein in, that you're hydrating, and all of those pieces. And then let's add this as an extra tool, because what we see and what we are seeing is so many people just starting to inject, and sure, the weight's coming off, but what's happening is they're losing their muscle. They're not changing their lifestyle with it. And then it's very detrimental because we know that we need muscle for longevity.
If
Yeah,
I
we're a
could
big
take
proponent of the foundations first.
megaphone to that one piece to everybody out there. I will say the only thing that maybe I see, I'd say 95% agree with that. There are that handful of people that the food noise, the struggle to fight their own biology sometimes makes it so they're either don't have that motivation to get the workout done or to change the diet or whatever. So sometimes that tool can be the thing that helps them make those changes that they so desperately want
Yeah.
to change and can't. But whichever way that we're approaching this, it's non-negotiable.
Yeah.
These foundational habits are just non-negotiable. And we just recorded a couple previous episodes before this conversation, and it's a repeated theme. We say it over and over again. You have to do this, or you could lose the weight, but you're just still skinny fat. You're still unhealthy internally. And if you go off from these peptides, you haven't used this as an opportunity to change your life so that if you go off, you can't necessarily be well supported. You're going to go right back to where you were.
Yeah.
Depending on a shot to change your life and lose the weight it ain't it.
Yeah. You
So,
definitely have to implement
Chelsea,
the habit.
let's transition over to now you're not necessarily bodybuilding, but you're competing in a different
Yes.
competition called Hyrox. And I know several colleagues of ours, several friends who are getting into this competition. One, tell me about the competition, and then two, tell me about your peptide regimen now.
Okay. So Hyrox, I just heard about it in the last year or two, and I guess it started in the UK in 2017. So it's been around for quite a while. And It's spreading like the masses. We are so excited because it's coming to Salt Lake City in September. So I competed in my first Hyrox in February earlier this year, and I did about a 3 month prep. So coming from the bodybuilding background, lots of strength training, and my cardio was steps. I didn't do a lot of cardio. And so it was very different to jump into having to run and do some of those things where I have been an Orange Theory coach. So I did have my time in the cardio space on the treadmill and on the rower and loved it. And so getting back into that was fun. It was good, just fun to mix things up. So what Hyrox is basically, it's a combination of running and fitness events. And so you run in between each station, and there's 8 different stations. So you come out of the tunnel and you run to your first station, which is a skierg, and it's you do 1,000 meters there, and then you run again, and then you go to a sled push, run, sled pull, run, onto broad jump burpees, and then you've got 1,000 meter row, you've got farmer carry, sandbag lunges, and then you finish with 100 wall balls. When you cross that finish line, the timer stops. So it's a timed race, and you wear an ankle monitor. And as soon as you start across the starting line, the timer starts, and it records all of your runs. It records all of your station times. And then when you cross the finish line, there's a big board and you can see your finish time right away. And so there's 3 different ways you can compete. You can do a relay, which is 4 people. So you can do an all men's or all women's team, or you can do mixed with 2 guys and 2 girls. And you can do doubles, men's or women's, or mixed. And then you can roll solo. And so they do have an open division, and then they have a pro division. And so there's tons of different categories. And you literally see all shapes and sizes, ages. They even have people in wheelchairs. Like, it is absolutely incredible to see
Oh
who's
my
coming
God.
out to these. So much fun. And it's really just the community aspect. They're feeding a lot off of what CrossFit has done, and they've just mixed it up a little bit. But it's super fun. We're super excited to compete again.
Am I the only one, and maybe it's my age that is so blown away that you put on a little bracelet that as soon as you enter in, it's measuring and it's measuring it at every one of these stations, and then as soon as you go out, like that's mind blowing to me that we can be that detailed when we're monitoring what your competition level is. I thought it was a big deal when I was competitive swimming and you'd touch the end and they had a little pad that stopped you. I'm showing
Right.
my age, but that is wild.
Yeah. And it is pretty technical. They have judges at each of the stations. And so there are rules, like your feet can't come off of the skier. You on the sandbag lunges, you've got to tap your knee every single rep. Broad jump burpees, your hands can't be further than a foot away from your feet. And there's judges watching every little thing. And wall balls is probably the most technical
Is that
because
the
you're
ropes or no? Oh,
wall balls, or which one?
what? Oh, wall balls. That's what you were
Wall
saying.
balls. Yeah.
Oh,
So you're
okay.
throwing a ball up at a target, but your bum has to come down below your
90
hips. So,
degrees.
or sorry, your knees. And so you have to break that plane of motion. And if your glutes are not below your knees, then it's considered a no rep and you have to keep going. So it is a really technical race, but it's so fun. And so if you have penalties, they end up being time penalties. So they'll add like 15 seconds to your time, or depending on the penalty.
Fun.
Yeah, it is. It's just,
How long
it
does
gives
it
you
take
purpose.
you?
So just over an hour. Like, our goal is to come in under an hour in September. But yeah, most commonly it's just over an hour. Anywhere between an hour and 90 minutes is like the what people are running it at. But like the pros, the really fast ones are under an hour.
That's the thing now. Now that you're like back in these competitions and you're keeping your body in an elite status, what does your peptide regimen look like?
I will, and I do use quite a few. So I do NAD plus. That one is probably pretty common, but that one is helping with your cellular energy, with your ATP production, and supports your mitochondrial health and especially recovery.
That's
There's a
not a
couple,
peptide, that's a coenzyme anyway. And I think we forget that, but it's all in
yeah,
the same category.
yeah, it's all in the same. It's injected with the stack. So I don't know all the differences between them. I just know what their purpose is and why I use them. So a lot of people, this isn't really actually for my performance, but everybody asks how I'm so tan. And so I
Oh, are
do,
you doing that?
yeah. So I do the
Oh,
melanotan,
okay.
and
I learned
yeah,
about that this like
yeah,
week and a half ago, just sitting
yeah.
with talking with a neighbor, and she's like, my girlfriend, when she comes, I know when she's on this. And I'm like, what? There's a peptide that changes your skin color? Yeah,
Yeah.
sure enough, it does.
Yeah. So yeah, everybody asks how I'm tan. It's MT1. That's the one.
I have not gone deep into this peptide at all. I have watched a lot of people talk about it, but I have questions. Are you ready for them?
Yeah, sure.
First of all, how long does it take before your skin, the pigment starts to change in its appearance? And is it
So
daily?
it depends on how quickly you want to enhance your color. So
Okay.
if you're taking it daily, yeah, you'll see improvements more rapid. And then if you get out in the sun or hop in a tanning bed, absolutely it's going to increase too. So you can just take it and then over time it will increase. But if you really want to maximize results, take it and then hop in a tanning bed or go out in the sun and you're going to notice that day. Absolutely. So,
Are you familiar with people like Kylie is more fair-skinned than I am? Does it
mhm.
change how somebody who is fair-skinned would respond to the sun? Would it help them?
Yes, it actually does. So I have
That's
a
a game
friend
changer.
that, yeah, he just started it very fair skinned. And I won't say that it's going to prevent you from burning, but it definitely is. He does not burn like he normally does, is what he's noticing with it. So his son plays baseball, and so he started taking it. And he's been sending me pictures of his sock line. I'm like, bro, you've got to take the socks off. So, yeah,
That's fantastic because
yeah,
Kylie, I know for you, like you look at the sun and you're always like afraid
It's just my
that the
normal
burns
color.
are
Pink
not
is my
great. So
normal
I think
color.
yeah, so I think about people that are really fair skinned that are using that. I didn't know if that, because I
yeah,
haven't, like I said, I haven't dug into that, if that would help them. Obviously, we still want to be protective and not a sun lover. That's, I'm just going to put that out there. I love the sun. I love how it makes me feel. I love how it makes me look. But I always feel bad for people that really cannot, we need the sun. And for people like Kylie that have to be so careful and covered. That's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, it'd be a great addition. I went to Puerto Vallarta in February and I didn't even use sunscreen. I did on my face and kept my
Yeah.
face covered, but yeah, I didn't, and it was amazing. I was out in the sun 4 to 5 hours and didn't burn. It was incredible. So
See.
there's an MT2. So there's a couple different ones. I've done both. And it's supposed to help with libido. I didn't really get that. But guys need to be a little careful because it can be, it can get the guys. The
Okay.
MT2 is a little more
Is
sensitive
it
to the,
is it because it's working with circulation, blood flow? Like what is it
yeah,
doing for them? Okay.
yeah, yeah.
All right. They don't necessarily they want to be able to have a little more control over what's happening down there depending on the situation. I get it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. While we're on the skin topic, I do take GHK, and that's the regeneration peptide. So for skin, hair, collagen production, tissue repair, anti-aging. And that's the one that kind of stings just a little bit. People notice when they take that one.
Do you warm
Um,
yours up before, do you let it sit and warm up to avoid some of that? Have you tried, you just out of the fridge
nope.
and in it goes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. For you
Do.
listening, that can be a tip. If you fill your syringe and you set it
Yeah.
out and you let it warm up for like half hour, 45 minutes, a little bit, then that can ease that up.
Okay. I haven't heard that. So I'll have to recommend that to a
Yeah,
friend because
give it a shot for
she
anybody
complains
that
every time. Yeah.
I think that sting is what holds people back. I know I haven't tried it yet because I'm like, do I really want to feel that? And I just haven't put that one in my stack yet, but
Yeah. Yeah. For like healing and inflammation, I take KPV. That's an anti-inflammatory that supports gut health, immune, and reducing systemic inflammation. I've noticed a huge difference with KPV. I also have a client that he had Achilles tear, and the KPV is actually really good for nerves and repairing nerve damage. So that's another one that's really good. And a couple of the others that I've added to my stack, I've done the MOTS-C. That's a mitochondrial peptide and improves glucose utilization and fat metabolism. That one also supports endurance and like metabolic flexibility. So the
energy.
MOTS-C is a really good one. And then
Do you ever take MOTS-C and NAD plus together?
yeah,
Like the way I've heard it explained is MOTS-C is the engine of the mitochondria and the NAD plus is the fuel for the engine.
yeah. So there I do
Combine them.
cocktail those. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
BPC 157, is that on the list?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So after I was on the GLPs, I actually I felt like I had broken my wrist. And I went in to do an x-ray and they just told me I had inflammation. And so my friend suggested TB 500 and BPC 157. And so I just injected it right in my wrist within a week. The brace was off. I was like, oh my gosh, it was a miracle. And it's been fine ever since. So, yeah, those are two that I would say a lot of people typically that's where they start with peptides, most generally, is BPC and TB
That's where I
500.
started.
Yep, those are the two most common. And then from there, you're like, oh my gosh, I feel so good. What else
Want
is
it
there?
all.
Yeah. A couple of new ones that I am toying with for prep for this next Hyrox is epitalon and SS31. And epitalon is more of a longevity peptide and it supports like telomere health and sleep regulation. I'm terrible at sleep. I need to be so much better. It's hard with teenagers, but it helps with circadian rhythm support. And then SS31 is more for the mitochondria as well. It just improves energy efficiency and endurance, and then also protects from like oxidative stress. So those are a couple new ones that I've added to my stack. And that's those are my tricks. I don't know if you guys have talked much about CMAX. That's more for instead of Adderall. CMAX is awesome for it's a nootropic peptide and enhances like focus, motivation, mental clarity, and supports dopamine regulation. So CMAX is an awesome one. And then Selenk is the anti-anxiety peptide. So Selenk promotes like that calm and emotional balance and helps reduce stress and cortisol response. So those two are really good as
They're
well.
fabulous. Our telemedicine company that we're working for, they don't have those two yet, but I'm pretty sure that those will be coming in the near future because people are looking for them. They need them for those reasons that you
Yeah.
said, because those are two areas that a lot of people are really struggling. So I'm really excited for us to be able to talk to people about that. You talked about the SS31. That
Mm.
is a nice one to pair with MOTS-C if you're considering like energy is where you want to improve upon. That's a beautiful stack. And if like we don't have retatrutide with our telemedicine company, I did Retta myself. It wasn't for me. It revved me too much. So that wasn't my favorite. So I went back to tirzepatide. But if you want to get that Retta-like kind of response and you like what it does on paper, but maybe Retta's not for you, you can do the tirzepatide, add the MOTS-C and maybe that SS31, am I saying that right?
Yeah.
SSR31. You can add that all in and get a Retta-like stack because the Retta on paper is absolutely gorgeous, but it is going to be a peptide that is not going to be for everybody.
Yeah, I noticed that I needed less Retta than tirzepatide.
Yeah.
It definitely got right in there and did the job. So I think with my personality, like,
Chelsea, when you say did the job, what was it?
so I love that tirzepatide helped with the food noise and then also just the fat burn. I just feel like Retta was more effective because I would split my dose and do a dose on Monday and a dose on Thursday. When I started the Retta, I was able to just go once a week.
1 week.
So
Yeah.
it just felt a little more potent. It kept the food noise down a lot longer. I felt like I leaned out a little quicker with it. And so it's pretty powerful stuff.
I think
Yeah.
one of the big messages too that we need to deliver is to listen to your body, right?
Yeah.
So in your case, you tried all of them and Retta was it for you. And not
Yep.
because you had bad experiences necessarily, but it just was the best fit. For me, the Retta wasn't the right fit, but we're so used to was reaching this goal or they're doing it at this rate of speed or we're comparing ourselves to everybody else's journey and what's working for them. But this is such an individual need by biochemically in our body.
Yeah.
It may not, this is a great story, a great fit for you, for me, for Kylie, but not necessarily the person that's listening. Find your
Absolutely.
group.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's so important for us to tap in with ourselves. Like I would say, me 2, 3 years ago, I wouldn't have had the self-awareness for my body that I do now. And that's been through a lot of emotional healing, I will say. I've done hypnotherapy, I'm hypnotherapy certified, and I'm a yoga instructor. So I've been through the yoga teacher training. And so I would say through that, because of the self awareness that I now have, I feel like I can understand my body better and how it's responding to things. Whereas before, I was pretty numb to my body. And I'm a former binger. Like I haven't always had a healthy relationship with food. And I know what it feels like to literally be out of control in the pantry, eating even though you don't want to. Like I could have ate 10,000 calories a day because I never felt full. And so there's been a lot of emotional healing to get me to the point where I am today to be able to add these extra tools and know how it's serving me. So I appreciate you bringing that up.
Along that lines with that binge eating too, when we talked about your transition into what you're doing now, and we talked about needing to do the gut health and how you came out of this national stage, I don't know how old you are, but I am in my 50s, and I was raised with this: more is what you need to do. So more exercise, more restriction. Like that is the approach to wellness. And so because we're what we know now about the body, that is the complete opposite of what we need to be doing. We need to be nourishing our body really well. Eating the steak, eat the whole freaking steak, eat the sweet potato along with the steak. Like we need more than what we were thought that than what we thought.
Yeah.
It's not just calories in and calories out. And what is happening when we're living these lifestyles of extremes, we are destroying our gut health. We are disrupting our liver. And so these signals that we would naturally make, which a lot of people hear, oh, why would I inject? We're talking about this big stack and all these things that you put in, and people are like, oh my gosh, she's putting all these medicines in her body. She's doing all these things that, no, guys, we naturally make these are bioidentical. But when we have these points in our life, whether it's major stress, hormone shift, binge eating like you have done, restrictive behaviors or extreme behaviors, we're destroying that natural mechanism to make these things on their own. Maybe we can get the spark going again and get the engine running, and we don't need to support on the stack, but we may never bring them back to what we might need. And this might always be a part. Why wouldn't you want to live optimally, live longer, better, all of those things?
Yeah, absolutely. When I first was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, I had a nutrition coach at the time, and I will not go without a coach. I've always, since having one, I just know how much it serves me personally, that accountability, and then just having an extra set of eyes on my health. And she actually assigned me no cardio, no lifting for 6 weeks. You have got to calm down because my nervous system was just raging. And so that was, like you said, less is more. And a lot of the women that I work with, they strength train 2 to 3 times a week. That's it. We're
Right.
not doing cardio 6 days a week. We are doing strength training. We are focusing on steps, getting heart rate up, doing a little bit of intervals. And through that, we are able to help calm the nervous system down, help to manage cortisol. And so, yes, the peptides they're just an extra tool in your toolbox, but it really is the overall habits that are going to help the peptides activate and support your body properly. Because one of the things I love the analogy of eating a cheeseburger at home in between picking up kids and running errands versus eating a cheeseburger on the beach. Your body processes that food in the chaos and it brings that same energy into your body, however, whatever your environment is. And so, in order for the peptides really to come in and do their job, they have to come into a healthy environment. They have to come into a healthy space. And the mind is so powerful. Just being able to believe that they can come in and do their job, that they can be supportive is super powerful as well.
I wish the nervous system would get discussed more. People immediately jump to thyroid, they immediately jump to adrenals, they immediately jump to gut. But my nervous system's the same way. And I know, like, when I have my 2-year-old, she's 2.5 now, but I always wanted a Peloton. And I got a Peloton for Christmas, but I wasn't able to physically get on it for a year and a half because I knew where my nervous system was. And me doing more exercise was going to cause more damage to my body than the other way around. And I remember early on, and as a practitioner, I had one of these moms who just thought that exercise and more of it was better. And when I told her that she needed to stop, she was destroying her body internally. I never saw her again.
Yeah.
She did not want to hear that. But nervous systems, maybe we have a follow-up conversation about the nervous system specifically. Anyways, that's where I'm at. Great conversation. Any last questions? Any last tidbits of information we want to share? Chelsea, they're preparing for their Hyrox.
Yeah.
Give them 1 or 2 peptides that would make preparation and recovery easier.
Oh man. I would just say TB and BPC. Like just your main hitters, those ones right there are going to help with recovery. They're going to help with repair. And those two right there, they're affordable. Like those ones right there is where I would start. And then just really, it's a running race. That's what I will tell anybody going into Hyrox. I think we went in with the wrong mentality of, okay, we'll recover in the runs. We're going to go hard in the stations. We're going to recover in the runs. No, you got to flip that mentality. So be a runner, go hard on the runs. And then, especially if you have a partner, then you can recover because while they're rowing, you're recovering. While they're skiing, you're recovering. And so that would be my
An
tip
hour
for,
intense. That's intense. An hour
yeah,
long of high intensity.
yeah.
It's not like you're just going to go out there and run a half marathon or a marathon. Like it's a different type of intensity. I should say.
Yes, it definitely is. But it's so much fun.
It
So
sounds like a blast.
BPC 157, TB 500. I'm on the exact same boat as you. That is my number one. Would you add in an NAD plus for some energy?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Anything you can do to support the mitochondria, but go all in on
NAD
that.
plus and
Absolutely.
MOXie. Those are the 2
Mhm.
available for mitochondria right now. All right, Chelsea, where can they find you?
So I am on Instagram, just my name, CHELSI.wood, Chelsea.wood. And that's where I show up. I'm not there all the
Utah,
time,
correct?
but
I know
what's
you're in
that?
Utah because that's where you're in Utah, right?
Yeah. Yep, I'm in Riverton.
Okay. If you guys are in the Salt Lake or Utah counties and you'd like to reach out with Chelsea and work with her one-on-one, go for it. Jess, where can they find you?
You can find me on my website. It's b2bwithjess.com. And you can find me on Instagram where I share education and resources, and that is jessb.talkshealth.
And like what Chelsea was saying, BPC 157 is a great way to start. If you are competing in the next Hyrox, start with that, add on some NAD plus.
If anybody is trying to figure out what this journey looks like and you need support, you need to know what your gaps are. You want to get a safe place where you can source some of these peptides that Chelsea was just talking about. I'd love to help you in that process as well. So you can follow Chelsea.
You can learn about all of the way to access these two and get the support you need on the back end. drkylieburton.com/shop. All right, that's Pep Talk. Peptides Unpacked.
Thanks, Chelsea.
Thanks, ladies.
Thanks,
Have a good
Chelsea.
day.